What is up, YouTube? Unruly here, and welcome back to another Apex Legends coaching video. In fact, this is the fourth one of the series. In today's video, we are going over aim training and weapons mastery, okay? In Apex Legends, there is abilities, and then there are guns, okay? And today, we're going to be covering the gun aspect of it. In a later date, we will be going over each of the characters and some tips for you guys. But today, we are definitely going to be focusing on the aiming and weapon mastery portion of it. Now, in today's video, we're going to be covering quite a bit of topics, so please try to keep up. I'll try to leave timestamps in the description below to help you get in the general area, in case some of you guys are pretty sufficient in your gunplay and just looking for extra tips or tricks. Anyway, in today's video, we're going to be going over recoil control, range of effectiveness of weapons, some tracking and target switching exercises you could be doing. We'll be talking about aim resetting, recoil smoothing, different aim trainers, and ADS versus Hipfire, okay? Now, all these things are very important in Apex Legends when it comes to gunplay, because abilities are nice and all, but at the end of the day, you have to shoot your gun in order to eliminate players, right? And that's what we're here for today. Now, let's go ahead and start the first segment, and that'll be controlling recoil, okay? Now, in Apex Legends, it's pretty forgiving for most guns, but there are some weapon classes that have higher recoil than others. And then there are some weapon classes that are easier to control recoil pattern-wise compared to others, okay? Quick disclaimer, if you want to join my Discord and request private coaching sessions, there's also a bunch of resources for free in the Discord. Links to all my videos, little tips and notes that I leave for you guys. Those are all free for the public. If you guys want private coaching lessons, you can request them in my Discord or directly DM me in Discord, and we could set something up for you guys. In those coaching sessions, they go by the hour. You get a free VOD review, the sessions you're provided come with a VOD review of a gameplay, a rank session, preferably a loss, because when you lose, there's always a lesson to be learned, but wins are okay too. Then we go into a firing range assessment where we go over pretty much what we went through with today's video, involving weapon mastery, recoil control, aim habits, stuff like that to help you out. And then we go into live pubs or ranked games. Again, those will go by the hour. Rates do apply, so feel free to DM me if private coaching is something you'd be interested in too. Thank you guys for all your support, and I'll see you around. Okay, here I have the R301. You're going to see now, my biggest tip to figuring out recoil and recoil patterns with guns is to find a wall in the firing range, okay? And you're going to shoot that wall with impact marks on. Some players have impact marks off. And you'll see the bullet marks here, okay? Now, the R301 has its signature little question mark, okay? And for recoil control with all the guns, you can do the same exact exercise. And you can figure out the spray pattern. It's really forgiving. It just goes up and to the right, just a little, up to the right a little bit, and then over to the left. Now with moderate recoil control, just controlling when it swings, you get your shot pretty zeroed out in general direction. It's a very forgiving gun. R99, for an example, very high, quick recoil going up. With moderate control, you can keep it like that. And all you're doing is really pulling down on your stick or on your mouse. It all works the same. You can really keep the recoil pattern relatively covered. Now, some guns with the little squiggles at the top right, that you can actually move your mouse, like pull it down directionally and down to the left, and really control the recoil if it's going to the right, like up to the right, down to the left, good bet. And you really just want to mirror that, okay? Now, other guns with higher recoil at the beginning, right, the flatline that sways back and forth. We're going to grab those guns for you. Now, the Flatline and the Havoc are two guns that I feel have one of the hardest recoil patterns to really control. And I'm going to show you here in just a moment. So, Flatline, letting it go. You see it goes up and to the left relatively quickly. I'm not controlling anything with my sticks. Havoc. Pretty rapid climb, right, with the Havoc. You see how quickly it goes up. And it does up to the left, up to the right, up to the left. Just a little swiggle, right? Guns like that have harder recoil patterns to control. See, with a little bit of counteraction, I can be able to tighten it up a little bit. Anyway, the point that I'm showing you here is once you figure out the patterns of the recoil of guns, your goal is to basically mirror them to a degree where it's not actually causing any problems. Now, I could show you a trick with these guns called Recoil Smoothing, which is done by actually moving left and right and ADSing your AD strafe or your left-right strafe, okay? From a distance, you can actually tighten that up, okay? So this is, if you're strafing back and forth, you see instead of it going up and around, it's pretty much body width, right? So slightly pulling down on the left and right, you can actually control the vertical recoil relatively easy. I'm actually not even pulling down on my sticks. Another thing where I talked about, where if you move your stick, if you are moving your mouse or your controller sticks, moving to the left and then pulling to the right, or pushing to the right and pulling into the left, you can actually mitigate that vertical recoil pretty easily. You can see it with dummies. You see it's not going up or down. I'm actually not even pulling my sticks up or down. I'm actually just moving them left or right. Same thing with the mouse, right? So if I take it and I'm pulling to the right and moving left, there's no vertical recoil, right? Now, obviously, you are tracking along left or right with the target. But if you do it properly, you see how it's tightened up compared to just climbing up. It's tightened up really well, actually. It's literally called recoil smoothing. There's little tips and tricks like that that you can see in Apex Legends that help you with that, right? I'm not even pulling down on my stick at all. Literally just moving left or right, keeping it. That's called recoil smoothing. That's one of the many tricks you could do, right? Of course, some guns that you have other recoils for, you can just single fire and help with that. If it has bigger recoil patterns, stuff like that. So that is called recoil smoothing. Now, and also, the next step we want to talk about is, along with recoil smoothing and other weapons having much harder recoil sprays, right? So the light class has the easier recoil to spray, heavy being one of the hardest, and then energy is one easier, but it has bullet drop off, okay? Or less bullet drop off, excuse me. So here's the volt. It climbs pretty quickly, but doesn't really have that hard of a recoil to control. And then with less bullet drop off, you can hit targets much further away at an effective rate. And then, of course, care package weapons. Kraber, there's bullet drop off and no recoil. Wingman, your point and click. And so on and so forth, right? The bow, literally no recoil on it almost entirely. Prowler, I would say care package is the most. But again, you saw what I was doing with the impact marks to figure out the recoil patterns of each gun. Okay? The next thing we're going to be talking about is range of effectiveness, okay? So, and that's basically when and where you should be using certain gun types, right? Now, obviously, your SMGs, you want to be up close and personal. That's where you really want to spray them down, right? Now, I can hit a target up close with an SMG, but as you notice, there with damage fall off, that recoil really starts to show off. Now, I'm only doing a little bit of recoil control here. If I do my AD strafe back and forth to mitigate that recoil, you see how that first part there, I really kept it close. But now, even though hitting every bullet on the target, I'm not hitting that 400 mark that I was whenever I just sprayed and prayed into the target. That's because every gun in the game has bullet drop off to a degree and range of effectiveness. Now, damage is decreased the further you get away with weapons. So you want to be changing those classes, right? So an AR, for an example, is a little bit harder to use up close and personal compared to an SMG. But when you get that medium to long range, that's where everything starts to pick up and it makes it a whole lot easier for yourself. Now, for those who have made comments in my previous videos about nice Cronus dude, and I'm sitting here in the firing range struggling to control certain recoil patterns as I'm actively talking and trying to explain the game, this is a big L for you. Just a little disclaimer. But anyway, you understand my point that further back you go, the less damage and the less damage and effectiveness at range. And that's where you want to go into your sniper classes and stuff like that. Sniper up close and personal, doing 70 to a target really close, right? But then you start getting further back, okay, where you're about 70 again. But now that we really start to get further back, right? 100 meters out. Pretty effective with snipers at that range. Now when you start to get further away and stuff like that, where targets are out to here. Targets seem to become pretty consistent with snipers at that far range. The charge rifle is a very good example of damage effectiveness range, because charge rifle as a passive through a longer distance traveled, the damage is increased, okay? So I can show you here that, and if you guys didn't already know that now that you do, try to shoot for people a lot further away. It does a lot more damage, okay? So if I'm shooting from a target right here close, compared to a target out far away, you see the difference? 67, 97, even further out, like 640 meters away, 107. Now those all change with headshots for two characters as well. See the difference? That's damage effectiveness range. Try to use your weapons and keep them close as personal. Now, next practice I want to be going over is tracking and target switching, okay? And these are all practices you can be doing in the firing range, okay? So example, this target right here that's running on a monorail, perfect for practicing tracking, okay? And for controller players, you don't have aim assist on these targets. So if you're able to track these consistently without aim assist, imagine with aim assist what you could be doing to a target from that range. That goes. Your goal is to obviously hit the center, but you... Personally, when warming up and trying to do practice in there in the range, my goal is to hit my entire mag on the target. Okay, because think of it as a Gibby with a gun shield out. That's about the target. If you can hit all those, you're hitting a gun shield, and at least you're cracking the gun shield. Doing a little bit of damage in between. But of course, a good goal is to make sure that you are hitting that right center target. Target switching, I like to do my target switching practice. You can either do it with a scout like they had it in the one of the previous firing ranges, but also a wingman is really good too. You have the targets in the middle. Practice flicking back and forth on them, okay? Target switching is very important, especially when it comes to like close range combat, where you down someone mid-mag and you need to move to another target, or you down a player and you swap weapons and you have to switch targets. Practicing like this is very important. It also helps with poking, okay? So if you're poking at a team with a scout or a repeater or a longbow, doing these target switches, helping with characters moving out in the middle of the field, okay? Because people are going to tap strafe, they're going to do some weird crazy bounces and change directions in the heat of the moment. And practicing target switching just like this, back and forth, will really help with that. Of course, the goal is to hit the red dot in the middle. And you can acquire an 80 strafe like I'm doing right there. And you can go in a row, back and forth. In the old firing range, where the dummies used to all line up together, I would used to go dummy, dummy, dummy. And then dummy, 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 target, target. Dummy, 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 target, target. If you remember the old layout of the other firing range. But yeah, grab a sniper. Grab a wingman. You can even do it with single fire ARs, like the R301 and the flatline, if you really want to, if you're worried about reloading often. Incorporate the dummies moving back and forth as well. That will really help. Target switching, moving dummies helps. A good weapon you can actually use to practice that in the firing range would be the Spitfire, although as gross as it may seem. Finish that character, move on to the next dummy, move on to the next dummy. Practicing that target switching to keep your ammo and your mag to the full effect. Of course, I recommend doing without a mag to practice the bare minimum of equipment that you get. But that would be target switching and tracking, which also leaves me to my next tip. That is something that people don't really do often in Apex Legends, and that is called aim resetting. Okay, so when I talk about aim resetting is whenever you're whiffing part of your mag and you realize that, try to reset your aim, okay? It happens with aim assist a lot. Believe it or not, because the system actually goes against the controller players sometimes, especially when targets are blending between knockdown shields or different types of cover. Sometimes it doesn't actually do what it's intended for. And M&K players, of course, when you're working on your tracking and doing all that, sometimes you're not entirely on the target at hand right away. It happens for everyone. I can fight the system that wants me to track this target to show an example. And one thing that people really don't do is reset. If you're noticing that you're whiffing for the most part, stop. Take a moment of cover, either reload or just make that slight adjustment. Sometimes when you're working with limited amount of ammo off drop and you're like, oh, well, I just whipped an entire mag. There goes a little bit of ammo I had. I can't fight now. Now I have to run and go loot, or I have to rely on my teammates to finish the fight for me. And you can do it really well whenever peeking and doing peek damage, okay? Whenever you're tracking a target, you're whipping a little bit, go back in cover, come back out, re-challenge. It saved me plenty of times, especially with the wingman. That's one gun that I feel I'm either too fast with or too slow with. And when I'm whipping, I need to go back and readjust my aim. Do so. Do it behind cover, reset. It's a very helpful and important tip that I see a lot of aim training and aim coaching videos not explained. Why dedicate to whipping an entire 35-round Spitfire mag when you take a breather, reset your aim, and finish the target off? And all this can be done. There's firing range drills that you can do. Another one I recommend is within different ranges is using these rocks as an example. With almost no attachments, you could do a sight, preferred sight. Try to one-clip the dummy or crack the dummy from these sets of ranges, okay? And you can work on recoil control from that far away. Now, you see the target is 60 meters away. I almost one-clipped him from 60 meters away with no mag. Practice doing those, so from each range. Use the 3 pillars as an example. And make a goal. 20 dummies from this far out. Can I crack him? As you see, I have no aim assist and no help from this range. So this is all raw input. And I can do the same thing on M&K. Again, change the sights. Go take the sight off. Personally, I would make a goal to at least crack the dummy from this far away, because then you can move in and go for the kill later. And this is an example, as you can see, I'm hitting for 10. This goes with a damage fall-off and damage effectiveness. Certain guns are just not meant to keep that damage that far away. It's part of the game. And with that being said, I also want to go over one more very important topic that can help you in Apex Legends, and that is the aiming down sight ADS versus hipfire dilemma that players have. When you are in a gunfight, you should not be like this, barrel stuffing someone, because they can do erratic movements, especially you M&K players, okay, where you don't have that aim assist to help you. Don't be trying to barrel stuff someone whenever they're moving in front of your face. It's not always going to work, and you can't see the surroundings around you when you do that. Okay? Hipfire. Go in and out of ADS. Because when you ADS and then you go into a hipfire, you see how my reticle is expanding? There's a moment of time where there's hipfire accuracy in between. Resetting that frequently will allow you to ADS and un-ADS and keep your recoil control the same, so you can actually see what your targets are shooting at. And it makes it a lot more comfortable afterwards, okay? So go in and ADS, then un-ADS. And there you have it, okay? Same thing with ARs, right? If you're going in someone's face with an AR and you have a high mag scope to track them, you know how awkward and weird it is to track someone with 3 times in their face? Compared to out of the way, yeah. Look how awkward this is. If this is your reality going into fights and you're losing, and you wonder why, that's exactly why. Now without aim assist, I'm probably not even doing this very well. On M&K, okay, with my sky pad. Look how awkward this is compared to just backing up. Alright. Infinitely less mouse pad space required to track the target from that far away, like that close. And on controller, I don't have that, like... The game wants me to pull that way, but it's so awkwardly close that I can't. Like, the aim assist is there, but I'm fighting it at this time. Compared to just backing up. Taking care of the target that way. Not only does it allow visibility, but you can control your gun. Now when I take the scope away, a whole different game. Now for veteran players, this might be a no-brainer, but to the average player coming in and learning the game, this isn't always something, especially people with their first time playing a first-person shooter, okay? This isn't common sense to them. But yeah, that'll do it for today's coaching video. I hope you found some of these tips very helpful. Again, just to recap, light weapons usually have lighter recoils. Same thing with energy weapons. Light weapons do have higher damage fall off, especially range effectiveness. Light weapons have less bullet drop off and slightly less damage reduction. That just comes with being an energy weapon. Heavy weapons, high dealing damage, high flinch, high recoil. Very rewarding. They have some of the highest TTK in the game, which is time to kill, and yeah, rewarded for that. Again, I hope you guys do enjoy today's video and some of these tips and tricks. Hopefully they did help you. Of course, you can always do aim trainers like aim labs, Kovacs, or if you are one of those adventurous players that likes to use modded versions of Apex Legends like R5 and do those special trainings, you can look up videos for those. I don't typically promote R5 because it's still in development and there's a lot of things that don't happen in the current game that happen in R5, like weapon interactions and stuff like that. But there's a lot of good things in aim regimens that you could do in R5, just like you can in Kovacs and aim labs. So if you want to venture into the modded Apex world, you could always just look up a video for that and you'll see a bunch of it. But, yep, that'll do it for today's video. I hope you guys found stuff very helpful. Again, I'll be leaving timestamps in the description below in a general area to get you guys to where you need to be. And thank you guys so much for all of the support you guys have been showing the channel and my coaching thus far. It's greatly appreciated, and I hope you guys are around for the next one. Peace.
Pain, death, nothing phases me.
Invisible.